The Russian-installed governor of Sevastopol says the Crimean Peninsula has been the target of fresh missile strikes. He reported air defense systems had intercepted rockets on Saturday morning. The latest attacks come a day after Ukraine's military struck the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Footage has surfaced online showing the moment of the attack on Friday. Russia says its air defense systems shot down 5 incoming missiles and 1 serviceman was missing. Ukraine's military, however, says several senior Russian Navy commanders were killed in the strike and dozens more injured. Meanwhile, US media reports suggest Washington plans to send long-range missiles to Ukraine. The reports say Kyiv will get the Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS missiles, that have a range of up to 300 kilometers. Ukraine has repeatedly asked for the weapons. The rockets would enable Kyiv to strike targets far behind the front lines in Russian-occupied territory. But for more, let's bring in Frank Lekowicz. He's a senior lecturer in strategic studies at Portsmouth University and a former UK military intelligence officer. And it's so good to have you back on the program, Frank. Let's start straight away with these reports on Ukraine getting advanced long-range missiles. There's no confirmation, of course, from either the US or Ukraine. But what do you make of that? And do you think that these reports could actually be credible?
Well, good morning, Monica. Yes, I think they are, from several sources within the Pentagon. But there's also good evidence that President Biden has given the go-ahead, not for unlimited advances, let's say, in missiles or grants, but for, I quote, a small number, unquote. But that nonetheless, that notwithstanding, this is very significant. It does seem it's going to happen. I think it was always inevitable. It's another one of these steps, steps along the ladder, let's say, of well, some would say escalation.
And those missiles, you mentioned escalation, those missiles would enable Ukraine to hit Russian targets deep behind the front line. How important could that be for Ukraine's counteroffensive?
Well, Monica, it's worth remembering, and you've already mentioned this yourself this morning, the rather important attack on the Sevastopol naval headquarters. So that's way behind Russian lines. It's carried out, supposedly that, and I think it probably was, by UK and French missiles, Storm Shadow missiles or variants. So Ukraine already has and obviously has the capability with drones and missiles to strike far behind Russian lines. What the ATACMS will give, however, is a lot more of that at the so-called battlefield or tactical level. It'll allow, these ATACMS are designed to be used from the HIMARS system and other systems like it. They are essentially very long-range precision shells, and that'll give Ukraine a lot more of what they have at a lot greater range. Specifically, it'll allow them to hit Russian supply lines well into Crimea, with a lot more regularity now than with the Storm Shadow and other weapon systems.
Now, you just mentioned the attack on Sevastopol. I mean, it's somewhat puzzling because it seems to be such an important strategic point for Russia, yet it was possible for Ukraine to carry out this hit. How vulnerable was this location, really?
Well, as you said, there were reports of a cyber. This is a combined arms attack. So cyber was used at first, presumably to knock out some of the radar and electronic warfare systems. Drones were seen over the base beforehand, allowing initial reconnaissance to take place and possibly some strikes, I would suspect, against anti-aircraft systems. And then the main strike came in. Russia claims it shot down most of the missiles, but it doesn't really matter because some got through with a rather important target. Crimea is the centre of gravity of Ukrainian operations, but also the naval aspect represents power projection into the Black Sea, and of course will affect Russia's campaign against the Ukrainian grain supplies. So at a number of levels, this was very impressive, it was very significant, and these kind of attacks will certainly go on.
All right, Frank Lekowicz, senior lecturer at Portsmouth University and former UK military intelligence officer. Frank, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Monica.